Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are studying Parashat Shemot. We have started the book of Exodus, and a very important theme that begs an explanation emerges in this week's Torah portion. It did show up in the book of Genesis, but it becomes so apparent now when Moshe Rabbeinu is being mandated by God to take the position of being the messenger to free Bnei Israel from slavery. Hashem makes it very, very clear what the purpose of them being freed from Egypt is. And take a look at your screen. This is in chapter 3, verse 8. Va'ered lehatzilo miyad Mitzrayim. I have descended to rescue them, the Jewish people, from the hands of the Egyptians. Why? Ulhaloto mina aretz hahi el eretz tova urchava, to take them up, to bring them up forth from the land to a good and spacious land, el eretz zavat chalav udvash, to a land of flowing milk and honey. Where's this place? El mekoma kenaani, ve'achiti ve'amri ve'aprizi ve'achivi ve'avusi, to the land of Canaan, basically, which right now is the place that is being inhabited by these following nations. So this is what the purpose of the Exodus was. The purpose was in order to take the Jewish people out of Egypt and to bring them to the land of Israel, the promised land. However, Pincus tells us that Hashem also mentions something to do about worshiping him on this mountain. Take a look at your screen. Chapter 3, verse 12, just a couple verses later. Vayomer ki yeh imach, when I'll be with you, v'zeh lecha ha'ot, and this is going to be a sign for you that I sent you. And why? In order to take the people out of Egypt, so that they could serve Hashem on this mountain. So, on one hand, the reason for their exodus was in order to get to the land of Israel, the promised land. But then there's also this idea of accepting the Torah. So, Pincus wants to know what was the purpose of freeing Bnei Israel. Was it to give them the land of Israel or to give them the Torah? I know what you're thinking in your head. Both. And the short answer is, you're right. But listen to the following. 430 years prior to that moment, during the Brit Ben Abitarim, the covenant of the halves that God had with Abraham, Hashem promised Abraham the land of Israel. Just in case you didn't believe me. Genesis chapter 15, verse 18. Bayomahu, this was the day. Karat Hashem et Avram, Berit lemor Hashem, forged a covenant with Abraham, saying, Lizaracha natati et haaretz hazot. To your descendants I have given this land, from the river of Egypt until the great river, the Euphrates River. So Hashem clearly told him this when he was 70 years old. Yet we don't find Hashem promised to Abraham anything about giving his children or his descendants the Torah and mitzvot. The same happens when Abraham is circumcised. Again, 29 years later, he is promised the land of Israel for his children. No mention of Torah mitzvot. Same with Yitzchak, same with Yaakov. If the whole purpose of Bnei Israel was to come out of Egypt, to get the Torah, and to have the land of Israel, well, why was there only a promise made for the land of Israel? Comes Rav Pincus and says, it's so important to ponder this idea. Think of the last 2,000 years of Jewish history. The last 2,000 years of Jewish history, with the exception of the past less than 100 years, all took place outside the land of Israel. It was all in exile. And we can't say that these two past millennia were empty and waste of time. No, Rav Pincus says it was deliberately done this way because it was specifically during the past 2 millennia that the Torah strengthened and grew. It was from after the destruction of the temples that Bnei Israel were sent out into exile that the Tanaim emerged, those who authored the 6 parts and sections of the Mishnah. Then the Talmud was written, and that was followed by Rishonim and Achronim, medieval scholars, more modern scholars. It seems that the Jewish people survived and even flourished because they had the Torah, and they learned Torah and fulfilled mitzvot while they didn't even have the land. So it would seem that even the Torah is greater than the land of Israel. If so, why is Hashem's promise made to the forefathers multiple times all about the land of Israel, and no mention of the Torah? So that's the question. And again, what was the purpose of the Exodus? All about giving and receiving the land of Israel? What's that worth? So, Pincus says, you have multiple sources that may seem to be conflicting, but he answers them all up. One major source is that what it says in the Mishnah in Masechet Peah, V'Talmud Torah keneged kulam, that the Torah is the most important thing, or mitzvah, that it is equivalent to all other mitzvahs combined. It is the highest. On the other hand, the Talmud discusses what's greater, Talmud or Maaseh, learning or doing. And the conclusion of the Talmud is that learning is greater because it brings to doing and fulfilling, which is confusing in its own way. Which means the purpose of learning is to learn how to do things and to fulfill them and to actually do good deeds. So it's confusing. From one source, it seems that the Torah is more important than anything else. The other one seems that the whole point of learning Torah is in order to fulfill the deeds. So Rav Pincus explains beautifully. He says, the main task, work, or purpose a person has in this world is to build their connection, their own personal connection with and relationship with Hashem. In every way, in everything that we do, every instance, we need to remember and to include Hashem and have in mind that you're doing it for the purpose of connecting to God. You see, Hashem created the universe in order for us to recognize Him and to fear Him, to connect to Him. And feeling that we're really living with and in front of the King of Kings. So the highest level of learning is something that's called Torah Lishma, Torah for the sake of Torah, which means you're learning the Torah for the sake of connecting to the giver of Torah, Rav Pincus says. Now, the only way one can get close to Hashem is actually by learning his Torah and fulfilling his mitzvot. Because without fulfilling the deeds, one can't get closer to Hashem. But if you don't learn Torah, then you're not going to know how to fulfill the deeds properly, or at all, for that matter. So with this introduction, now Rav Pincus says why the promise of the land of Israel was the one Hashem made to our patriarchs. He gives it based on a mashal. Mashal is an anecdote. He says, when a new bride and groom are wed, at a Jewish wedding, how do we bless them? We bless them to have a bait ne'eman b'Yisrael, which means a trustworthy home amongst the Jewish nation, which seems to be missing so many important blessings. If you're going to have now the moment, the beginning of life of the new couple to bless them, where's the blessing of peace in the home, furniture, and livelihood, and children? So many things are missing. Oh no, all we say is have a trustworthy home. They could use all the blessings. And says Rav Pincus, all the blessings and more are included when we say Beit Ne'eman, a trustworthy home. Because a home that is trustworthy can include all of the basic components and much more. The land of Israel, Pincus says, is the house. It's the home. It's the home that houses all of the blessings and advantages that the Torah and mitzvot have to offer. And just as in many instances, in all instances, a home is a place that, of course, public things are done, but also private things are done. The land of Israel is the exact same way. Everything is meant to happen in the land of Israel. But what specifically? Learning Torah and fulfilling mitzvot. Because that is the greatest way to connect to Hashem. A home is there in order for the husband and wife to connect to each other, to their children, and to build and foster that relationship. Israel is the home for Bnei Israel and Hashem. So now we understand why Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, when he was telling him to take this position, that the Jewish people have to arrive to the land of Israel. Because that's the point. The point is to get there. On the way there, what do they have to do? They have to receive the Torah. Because the Torah is the glue. It's what connects Am Yisrael to the Jewish people. Just like a couple can be traveling for weeks or months or years on end, they could still have a relationship, they could still be trustworthy. If they don't have a home, they're not settled. The land of Israel is where Bnei Israel and Hashem settled together with the Torah, being the connector. So to answer, Hashem promised the patriarchs the land of Israel. He didn't even have to mention anything about them receiving the Torah, because there's no Torah, there's no point of Israel. It's very, very serious what we're saying over here. That means the whole point of living in the land of Israel is in order to learn Torah and to fulfill mitzvot in order to connect to Hashem. If there's no Torah in Israel, it's like saying there's no oxygen to a healthy person. Healthy body, healthy person, but there's no oxygen. It's like the fundamental, it's the foundation. It's something Hashem didn't even need to promise because it was a given. It was taken as a given because it had to be done. So I guess the lesson for us is very, very simple. If we want to understand how to connect to Hashem, it's through Torah and mitzvot. If we want to understand the greatest way to connect to Hashem, it's in the land of Israel. And unfortunately, I think everyone that's on over here, we don't live in the land of Israel. We don't have this merit. And anytime we go and we visit and we are able to learn more there and to fulfill more there, we feel this. So we please ask Hashem that hopefully even before Mashiach comes, we're able to move back to Eretz Yisrael. I personally lived there for 7 years. It's nothing like it. B'ezrat Hashem, Mashiach comes and we'll be able to fulfill all the Torah mitzvot in the land of Israel, but we don't need to wait till then. I'm speaking to myself more than anyone. It's difficult, it's hard, it's not easy to raise children, to make a livelihood. But we need to, at least, even if we live in the exile, we have to at least know that that's where we should be, that that's where our optimal is, that's where the best is. B'ezrat Hashem, we get there soon. Amen v'amen.